All right, so today we're going to dive into something I think is really, really cool. Mixing a blues band.
Oh, yeah?
We've got this excerpt all about what a sound engineer does, and I'm already like totally fascinated by it. It's
Yeah.
like, how do you capture that raw, soulful sound that just defines blues music, but make it sound, polished
Right.
for like modern systems?
Yeah, it's a real challenge for sure. The blues is all about authenticity
Yeah.
and emotion.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're dealing with like the soul of the music. You know what I mean? It's
Totally.
not just like levels and frequencies. It's
Yeah.
about translating like feeling into sound.
Yeah, and we're talking about like those, iconic instruments. Like you've got the gritty vocals, you've got that super soulful guitar,
Yeah.
the driving bass and drums.
Yeah.
And then like on top of that, you might have like a piano or an organ or a harmonica.
Exactly.
All those extra layers.
Yeah, each one adds, a different texture to the best.
Totally. So it's like a balancing act then?
It is.
Honoring that raw energy,
Yeah.
but still making it sound good,
Precisely.
on today's systems.
Yeah. And that balance kind of shifts depending on whether you're mixing for like a live performance
Okay.
versus like a studio recording.
Gotcha.
Live mixing is all about, adapting on the fly, to the energy of the room, the musician's improvisation.
Right.
But in the studio, you have a lot more control.
Yeah.
But the challenge there is capturing that like magic,
Yeah.
that spontaneity
Yeah.
that makes blues music so special.
So let's like break down each of those instruments a little bit.
Okay.
And I think we got to start with like the heart of the blues, the vocals.
Right.
What makes a blues vocal so captivating?
Well, the vocals are front and center in blues.
Yeah.
They're not just singing words, they're telling stories,
Mm-hmm.
conveying, raw emotion, pain, joy, longing.
Right.
And the sound engineer's job is to like capture that intensity
Yeah.
and make you feel it.
So I'm guessing microphone choice is like super important.
Huge.
Yeah.
You might think, condenser microphones with all their detail would be the go-to.
Right.
But a lot of times in blues, you'll see dynamic mics like the Shure SM58.
Okay.
They can handle those, really powerful deliveries.
Yeah.
And they've got that kind of raw, almost gritty
Right.
character that a lot of blues singers have in their vocals.
So you want that rawness, but you also need to manage like the technical side of things?
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Like take dynamic range, for example.
Okay.
Blues singers, they can go from a whisper to a shout
Yeah.
in a single phrase.
Totally.
So compressors and limiters, those tools help manage those peaks and valleys
Okay.
without losing that emotional impact.
Right.
The delicate dance,
Yeah. Okay, so how about that soulful guitar then?
Oh, yeah.
Like the instrument that really defines the blues sound for so many people.
Oh, the guitar man.
Yeah.
Capable of expressing so much emotion
Yeah,
with just a few notes.
totally.
It's the heart and soul of the blues. But in a mix, you got to make sure its unique tone shines through
Right.
without overshadowing everything else.
Yeah. What's the secret to getting that right?
Well,
Is it all about effects and distortion?
while those play a role, it starts with equalization.
Okay.
It's about finding that like warm, bluesy tone,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all about the mid-range frequencies.
Awesome.
A lot of people think boosting the highs will make it brighter,
Yeah.
but in blues, that can lead to a harsh, thin sound.
Ah.
You want to find that warmth and presence in the mid-range,
Okay.
around like 500 hertz to 1.5 kilohertz.
Gotcha.
That's where that signature bluesy grit kind of lives.
Interesting. What about effects like reverb and delay? Are those used a lot in blues guitar mixing?
Actually, reverb and delay are often used sparingly in blues.
Okay.
Remember, it's all about that immediacy,
Right.
that intimate connection between the musician and the listener.
Yeah.
Too much reverb creates distance, which works against that raw emotional power
Right.
of the music.
Yeah.
A touch of delay can add depth and texture,
Mm-hmm.
but it's all about using effects judiciously.
All right, so we've talked about the vocals, we've talked about the soulful guitar.
Yeah.
What about the rhythm section
Right.
that holds it all together?
Yeah.
Let's start with the bass.
The bass, it's often overlooked,
Mm-hmm.
but it's absolutely vital.
Right.
It's the glue that holds the rhythm section together.
Yeah.
It provides the foundation for everything else.
Right.
But the sound engineer has to be careful not to let it dominate the mix.
I'm sensing a theme here.
Yeah.
Balance seems to be like
Balance key.
it's
And-
either blues mixing.
yeah, the bass needs presence without being overpowering.
Okay.
Equalization is crucial here.
Yeah.
You want to carve out space in the low-end frequencies,
Mm-hmm.
especially the sub-bass,
Okay.
so it doesn't clash with other instruments like the kick drum.
So it's about giving the bass its own space to breathe,
Yeah,
but still making sure it anchors that rhythm.
exactly. And compression can be a useful tool,
Yeah,
particularly in live settings where the bassist's dynamics might fluctuate.
right.
It helps even out the sound and ensures the bass sits comfortably in the mix.
Okay, that covers the bass. What about the drums?
Right.
The driving force?
Yeah, the drums in blues are all about that steady driving rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
They may not always be in the spotlight,
Right.
but they're essential for setting the mood and feel.
Yeah, I imagine capturing like the natural feel of the drums
Oh, yeah.
is really
Oh,
important.
yeah.
You don't want
Yes.
them to sound too polished or
Oh,
overproduced.
exactly.
Right.
The goal is to maintain a balanced drum sound
Yeah.
that complements the other instruments without overpowering them.
Mhm.
Compression is often used on drums,
Yeah.
but again, it's about finding that sweet spot between controlling peaks and preserving the natural dynamics
Right.
and feel of the drummer's performance.
So it's not just about making them loud and punchy.
Right.
It's about capturing like the essence of the drummer's groove. It's exactly. You want to hear the nuances in their playing, the subtle variations in dynamics,
Right.
the ghost notes that add so much character to the blues shuffle.
So this has been really eye-opening. I'm starting to understand like the finesse involved
Yeah.
in mixing a blues band,
Yeah.
but we've only covered like the core instruments.
Right.
What about those special guests, piano, organ, harmonica? How do they fit into the mix?
Ah, yes. Those additions can really add a new dimension to the blues sound.
Right.
They bring their own textures and colors to the mix, but integrating them seamlessly without clashing with the core instruments.
Mm-hmm.
That's the challenge.
Well, let's talk about the Hammond organ specifically.
Okay.
It's got such a rich, powerful sound.
Oh, yeah.
How do you approach like mixing that beast into a blues track?
The Hammond organ is a force of nature, man.
Yeah.
It can go from mellow and soulful
Right.
to downright dirty and aggressive.
Yeah.
The key is harnessing that sonic power without letting it overwhelm everything else.
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine it easily taking over the entire frequency spectrum
Oh, yeah.
if you're not careful.
You're absolutely right. Careful equalization is essential.
Okay.
You need to find the organ's sweet spot in the frequency spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
carving out space for it to coexist with the other instruments.
Right.
For example, you might scoop out some of the low mid frequencies
Okay.
to prevent it from clashing with the bass and guitar,
Right.
and boost some of the highs to add sparkle and definition.
I bet panning also comes into play.
Absolutely.
Creating a sense of space for the organ.
Strategic panning can work wonders with the Hammond organ.
Yeah.
Spreading the sound across the stereo field creates a sense of width and depth,
Right.
allowing the organ to breathe and shine without dominating the mix.
This is so fascinating. I'm realizing there's a lot more to mixing a blues band
Yeah.
than I initially thought.
It's a deep well of knowledge for sure.
Yeah.
And we've only just begun to scratch the surface.
Right.
There are so many more techniques and nuances that go into crafting that authentic blues sound.
Mhm.
You know, we've talked about laying the foundation, but
Mm.
there's some really interesting advanced techniques
Yeah.
used in blues mixing that can really make a mix stand out.
I'm all ears. Like, what are some of those secret weapons that sound engineers use?
Well, one technique that comes to mind is parallel processing.
Okay.
Imagine you create a copy of a track, like drums or vocals,
Mm-hmm.
and you really go to town on it with like compression or distortion.
Okay.
And then you blend that heavily processed track
Yeah.
back in with the original.
Interesting.
It adds this amazing depth and character
Yeah.
without sacrificing clarity.
So it's like adding another dimension of sound.
Yeah.
Like a layer of intensity
Yeah.
that you can like control how much.
Exactly. You can really push the boundaries of processing
Okay.
without making it sound unnatural or overblown.
Gotcha.
Another technique we use a lot is saturation,
Okay.
like adding a touch of warmth and grit,
Mm-hmm.
that classic tube amp sound,
Yeah.
by intentionally adding harmonic distortion to a signal.
Oh, that makes me think of those like old blues recordings.
Yeah.
The ones with that like raw, almost crackling energy.
Yeah, that's exactly what saturation can help achieve.
Oh,
It adds a bit of that vintage vibe
okay.
that's sometimes missing in modern recordings.
Gotcha. So it's not all about the technology,
No.
right? Like a skilled blues sound engineer really understands
Oh, yes.
like space and dynamics.
Absolutely. Blues music is all about ebb and flow,
Yeah.
tension and release.
Totally.
A good mix will allow those dynamics to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Think of B.B. King's guitar playing.
Okay.
The way he bends those notes,
Yeah.
creating a sense of yearning and release
Right.
In a mix, we want to preserve that emotional journey,
Yeah.
that sense of movement and drama.
Totally.
Techniques like automation,
Okay.
where we can subtly adjust levels and effects over time.
Right.
Those can help enhance those dynamics.
So it's not just about setting the levels and the EQ.
No, it's about creating a dynamic soundscape
Right.
that really pulls the listener in.
It's like storytelling through sound.
It is.
Yeah.
The sound engineer helps shape the emotional arc of the song, using technical tools to translate the musician's expression into an experience for the listener.
You know, it's interesting. We often think of blues music as being very simple, stripped down.
Right.
But like the mixing process reveals this whole other layer
It does.
of complexity and artistry.
And that's the beauty of it. Those seemingly simple elements,
Yeah.
the vocals, the guitar, the rhythm section, they all come together to create something so powerful and moving.
Totally.
The sound engineer plays a crucial role in bringing those elements to life, ensuring that the raw emotion of the performance shines through.
Of course, we can't talk about modern blues production without acknowledging like the elephant in the room technology.
Yeah.
How has technology like changed the way blues music is mixed today?
Oh man, technology has revolutionized music production in general.
Yeah.
And blues is no exception.
Right.
Digital audio workstations, or DAWs, have given us incredible control and flexibility.
Right.
We have access to a vast array of plugins, virtual instruments and effects that let us shape sound in ways that were unimaginable just a few decades ago.
Because it's like having a whole studio's worth of gear at your fingertips.
Exactly. But it's crucial to remember that technology is just a tool.
Right.
The real magic still lies in the ears and artistry of the sound engineer.
Yeah.
We need to use these tools thoughtfully.
Right.
Serving the music.
Yeah.
Not just showcasing the latest technology.
Right.
It's about finding that balance between embracing the possibilities of technology while preserving the authenticity and soul of the blues.
So it's about using technology to like enhance the emotional impact.
Yeah.
Not to mask it.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And technology has also impacted the way blues music is consumed.
Okay.
With streaming services and digital downloads, music is more accessible than ever before.
Totally.
This means a wider audience for blues music. But it also presents new challenges for sound engineers.
Like what are some of those challenges?
Well, one major challenge is loudness.
Okay.
Streaming platforms, they often normalize audio levels.
Yeah.
Which can squash dynamic range, resulting in a compressed, lifeless sound.
Yeah.
Blues music, with its emphasis on dynamics and emotional expression, can really suffer from this. Sound engineers need to be mindful of loudness levels and find ways to preserve the dynamics while ensuring the music translates well on these platforms. It's a balancing act, trying to stay true to the dynamic nature of the blues while adapting to the demands of the digital landscape.
It sounds like a delicate dance between artistic integrity and the technical limitations of the digital world.
That's a great way to put it. But it's a challenge that many sound engineers are rising to meet. You know, we're finding creative ways to produce blues music that sounds both authentic and impactful in today's world. We're always learning and evolving, finding new ways to make the blues resonate with audiences, regardless of the medium.
I think that's a perfect segue into my next question.
Okay.
What do you think the future holds for blues music production? Will it stay true to its roots? Or will it continue to evolve and blend with like new sounds and influences?
You know, that's a question that has sparked many a late night conversation amongst us music folks. Blues music has always been about adaptation and innovation. Look back at its history. It's a melting pot of influences. Drawing from gospel work songs, folk music, and more. And it has always embraced new instruments and technologies.
So you see that evolution continuing?
I do. I think blues music is a living art form. And just like any art form, it reflects the times in which it's created. We're already seeing artists push the boundaries of the genre. Blending traditional blues elements with modern production techniques. And influences from other genres.
Totally.
Think about artists like Gary Clark Jr.
Okay.
He's blending blues with elements of rock, hip-hop, and soul.
Wow.
Creating something fresh and exciting while staying true to the heart of the blues.
It's inspiring to see how artists are finding that balance.
It is.
Between honoring tradition and embracing the future.
Absolutely. It's an exciting time for blues music.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see what new sounds and approaches emerge in the years to come.
Well, on that note, I think we're ready to wrap things up. Okay, so welcome back. We've covered a lot of ground, talking about mixing a blues band.
Yeah, we have.
We talked about the technical stuff, the artistic choices, the challenges of this whole digital age.
It's been a fascinating journey.
It really has. But I guess as we wrap things up here, what's the big takeaway here?
Yeah.
What does it all mean for someone who wants to really understand the magic behind blues music?
If we step back and look at the bigger picture, it all kind of boils down to this.
All right.
Mixing a blues band isn't just about, technical skill. It's about capturing a feeling, an energy.
Yeah.
The very soul of the blues.
Right.
And translating that into sound.
So it's like the sound engineer is almost a conduit then.
Exactly.
Channeling the raw emotion.
Yeah, they have to balance, the technical aspects with the artistic.
Right.
Honoring the traditions of the blues while still being open to innovation and new ideas.
Yeah, and as we've talked about, technology might change, but that core principle remains the same.
It does.
It's funny, we often think of blues music as being simple, stripped down.
Yeah.
But the mixing process really reveals this whole other layer of depth and complexity.
It's fascinating how those seemingly simple elements, the vocals, the guitar, the rhythm section, they work together to create something so powerful and moving. And the sound engineer plays a crucial role, in shaping that sound, making sure that emotional impact reaches the listener.
Well, before we go, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about.
Okay.
We talked a lot about how technology is changing, the landscape of music production.
Yeah.
So here's a final thought. How do you think technology has influenced the sound of modern blues music compared to its earlier roots? Has it enhanced the raw emotion, or has it created a distance from the essence of the genre?
That's a great question, and one that sparks a lot of debate among musicians and producers.
Right.
There are valid arguments on both sides.
What are some of the different perspectives on that?
Well, some people believe that modern technology allows us to capture the nuances and raw emotion of blues music more effectively than ever before.
Okay.
We have tools now that can enhance the warmth, the grit, the dynamics of the performance in a way that wasn't possible with older recording techniques.
So it's like technology as a way to almost amplify that emotion.
Exactly, to bring it to the forefront.
Right.
But on the other hand, some argue that the overuse of technology, particularly in genres like blues that thrive on raw, unfiltered emotion, can actually sterilize the sound and create a disconnect from the music's roots.
Like a sense that the technology might be getting in the way.
Right. There's a concern that overprocessing and polishing the sound can rob it of its authenticity, its rawness.
Right.
The blues was born out of struggle and hardship.
Yeah.
And that's reflected in its raw, unpolished sound.
Totally.
Some fear that modern production techniques can smooth out those rough edges a little too much.
So it becomes a question of finding the right balance then.
Exactly.
Using technology to enhance the emotion, but not sacrifice the authenticity that defines the blues.
Precisely. And I think that's the key takeaway for anyone interested in blues music, whether you're a listener, a musician, or a budding sound engineer.
Right.
The blues is a genre that's constantly evolving, adapting to new influences and technologies.
Totally.
But at its heart, it's about raw emotion storytelling and a connection to something deeper than just the music itself. That's what makes it so timeless and universal.
That's a great way to put it. Well, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and insights with us today.
Well, the pleasure was all mine.
It's been a real pleasure diving deep into the world of blues music with you.
Yeah, keep exploring the world of blues music.
Yeah.
There's always something new to discover.
And to all of our listeners out there, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into mixing a blues band.
Yeah.
Hopefully you gained a newfound appreciation for the art and soul that goes into crafting that iconic sound. Until next time, keep those ears open and those hearts full of the blues.